At Arizona State University, we're bringing world-class education from our globally acclaimed faculty to you. Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online. That's a degree better. Learn more at asuonline.asu.edu.
Love isn't a feeling that lasts. It's a choice we keep making.
Let's talk about love and marriage the way that God intended. Life experience, here we share it. The NoFruitPodcast. Tune in from any platform. NoFruitPodcast. Will help your spirit transform.
What's going on, everyone? What's going on, everyone? So, here is where we are today. Longevity in marriage isn't necessarily built 100% on just the butterflies that's in your stomach in year 1, year 2, year 5. But it's built on the commitment of keep saying yes, even when life can feel heavy, when feel like emotions have run dry, like the song by Boyz II Men, or conflict arises. But choosing each other every day reinforces that your relationship is not conditional, but it's intentional. And a lot of times, we don't put a lot of that intentional work in because we get caught up in the everyday. And so, and sometimes we don't have the right influences in front of us, around us, or whatever it is, to create that environment. And so, Kafa, what do you do that says, or that you do that's intentional, to continue to say yes in our marriage?
I just say yes. I think, life does become mundane as you continue to live. You get up, you do what you have to do, and sometimes you do things without thinking. So sometimes you just have to stop and give pause to why you're doing what you're doing. Why am I brushing my teeth? Type of a thing. It's things that you do, but you don't necessarily think about why you're doing it. And I think once you figure out or reflect on why you're doing it, it gives you more purpose. It allows you to say yes. It allows you to, at least me, it allows me to refocus and get back to the basics, get back to the roots. How about yourself?
So real quick, because you said something about just saying yes, but that sounds so simple. Is it really that simple?
It's as simple as you make it. So, the actions behind saying yes, ultimately you just say yes. Like, hey, you figure out I'm kind of just moving things forward and not thinking about it. So you beginning to think about it is saying yes.
Mm-hmm. So I guess for me, yes, I have to say yes, but for me, I have to put a little bit more action towards it. Because even in my yes, there's a no at times. It can be. Because I'm not always committed to the yes until I move upon it. That's just for me, because
but that's what I'm saying.
Again,
it starts with a yes. Like, you have to have that shift, that change, and then the action comes. I'm not saying like you just jump up and have an action. I think you have to say yes. That, hey, I'm going to make a change. Hey, yes, I'm going to, do something. So then you say, and then you do it. So I think for me, maybe I'm just looking at things a little bit differently, and that's fine. I can look at things differently than you.
Right. That's what I'm saying. I'm just saying what my process is.
Mm-hmm.
That I could say yes, but like I said, there's still a part of a no in there. It's not very often in the past. It wasn't very often in the past that everything was just a flat yes. There was always a caveat to it. There was always I don't care what the situation might have been. There was some type of way of talking myself out of it or whatever it is. And something that you and our son said the other day about how I could say things and it may seem like I was confident and whatever it is, but I never portrayed the self-doubt that I was experiencing. And so so I think that yes, it's easy to say that word, that little 3-letter word, but the commitment that goes with it is not always it hasn't always been easy to get up and make a move. It hasn't been, because of, you hear again. I'm just going to tell my own story about my parents were separated longer than they were married, or they were separated longer than they've been divorced. And so the if that is your example, if that is how things had played out, what example am I looking at? Like, how do I live my life every day? Especially if that's what I saw and that's what I felt, and especially from a kid perspective, like most kids, like, my parents are not together because of me, because you take on that responsibility for whatever reason, right? And so now, how do you move forward? And so to say yes hasn't always been the easiest thing to do.
I mean, when you started at the top of the show, that love isn't just a feeling; it's a choice.
Right.
So you have to make that choice to do something.
Right.
So the first action is choosing to do something.
And sometimes that choice for some people, and I'll again speak for myself, is inaction. Sometimes I made a choice not to even move at all.
Right.
And I mean, that's a choice, right? And so in that choice, though, is it progressive? Is it hurtful? In some cases, it can be, right? Like, because if you move right or left, it can hurt the other person. You don't even know it. You don't always know it, right? Especially when you're making a choice and you have no idea how that person is feeling in that moment, because you don't know what their influences are. You don't know what, who they spoke to, not spoke to, whatever it is. And you and I just had this conversation not too long ago, right? That we don't necessarily know. And I think it's kind of rather disingenuous sometimes that we know everybody that our spouse knows, right? I think it's very, and then even with that, I think it's kind of hard to know what type of conversations that our spouse is having with us not being there. We just don't know. Mm-hmm. You get what I mean? And so I really have no idea that if you're at work or whatever the situation is, I have no idea that you're talking to a person and they're complaining about whatever situation. That doesn't mean you're complaining, but that doesn't mean that you got thoughts running through your head. And so by the time you get home, what is going through your mind? How are you influenced or not? It goes both ways. You get what I mean? It's not a one-way situation, because we don't always understand what the other person is going through. Mm-hmm. And so if I'm out like, hey, here we go, and you're like, hold on, son. Like, hold on, dude. What are you talking about? Right? Because we don't always take that into consideration. So sometimes the action cannot and may not be the always the right way to go. So sometimes that, even though inaction is an action, but that's where for me it's like, hey, I could say yes, but even in that yes, I might not even move. And some of that has come out, in our, I don't know how many of y'all have dealt with it, but there's some of that, hey, yes, I want to go on vacation, but we don't take the vacation because of that action of that can cause what? We don't know. Some of us, I know for myself, I've been fearful of every time we've gone outside and wanted to be outside in the streets for whatever reason, there was always some type of bill coming up. So now all of a sudden, I don't want to do anything, right? Hey, you know what? We're going to go and that going outside, it may not even be that serious. It might be a situation where we just went outside and went down the street to nothing bunt cakes, right? And bought a cake. And we're like, now all of a sudden, that little $20 cake is way more expensive, or it seems like such a luxury when now you got this bill that's coming up. We've been in those type of situations, and so I think that, yes, we can do things on an everyday basis to say, hey, you know what, we're going to say yes every day and move forward. But sometimes there's some things that kind of like pulls us back too.
Yeah, I mean, again, life becomes systematic. It can become mundane. You can take things for granted. But, I guess we want to encourage everybody not to take each other for granted, not to take love for granted, that you do take some time to think about why you're doing it and who you're doing it for. And I can't say that every day that Maurice and I have been married that I've done that. But I think in this last year that we've done that a little bit more frequently, of understanding each other and why we're here, and what we mean to each other. And that has allowed us to grow closer together. So I think taking that, a little bit of time out to step away from the system of day in, day out activities, and just to communicate with one another, communicate with yourself. As Maurice is always saying, look at the man in the mirror. So communicate to yourself. Why am I here? Why am I, am I showing up at my best for my marriage? Am I showing up at my best for myself? What representative am I sharing and showing? And it gets hard because, again, you at least for myself, I get into the, hey, just get it done mentality. Sometimes I just get dinner done. I don't think about what I'm cooking, why I'm cooking it. Did I, season it? Did I not see? I just getting it done so we can have something to eat. But then there's times where you put love into it and it, means something more or whatever. So I just use it as an example.
And I think kind of going back to the communication part, one of the things that we do it, but as you stated, are you kind of going through the motions, or can you go through the motions? So within the last year, has it meant something that, hey, when one of us walked through through the door, hey, how you doing today? How was your day? And allowing that person that opportunity, that moment to vent in some cases, right? Some of it is venting, some of it is, whatever it might be. But the question is, are we really present when that person is doing that and engaged in that moment? And sometimes, we're not, because again, we don't really know when because of whatever we might be going through and what we're feeling. So, are we really intentional, or have we always been intentional? Like, to your point, I know again, like you said, I only can speak about the last year as well, of how intentional I have been of being as present as I can, where I'm not thinking about how to respond. I'm not thinking about how to react. I'm not thinking about what I'm going to talk about, what I'm going to say. I'm not doing any of that. I'm just listening to what you got to say. And half the time you're just like, oh, it was nothing. Okay. That's the way you come off. But it's like, and then I know me and my words, I probe a little bit more, but a lot of times, how engaged are we? And I think that's the challenge. So, because you look at some of these stats, and I don't remember the stat offhand, of just how engaged people are on social media than they are really in interpersonal relationships. Mm-hmm. And so and I listened to a close family member who talked about, yo, Maurice, this dating pool out here is crazy. But it's crazy because of what though? Why is it? And even for you, for you, are you really intentional? This particular individual, like, are you really intentional in who you're engaging, right? And who's taking up your time or your space, And so I think those are some of the things that as we have basically grown up, we had to grow up in some of this, right? Again, we don't see too many adults in marriage. We don't. Especially right now in our lives right now. How many people are married? It's not that many. And so I think those are the things that we gotta consider of being intentional and working on this every day. To your point of waking up to say yes, and yes, I'm going to be intentional today. Saying, yes, I'm going to be present today. Yes, I'm going to not necessarily be so like I'm hanging on every word mentality, but I'm hearing what you're saying though. I think that's an intention that a lot of times, because of this fast-paced microwave mentality, that we're not there.
And I think, when it comes to communication, as you stated, I think it's both verbal and nonverbal. Another thing that we have been doing with this past year is being intentional about physical touch. So, before I go to work, I try, Maurice tries to give me a nice long hug. At times when I come home from work, I'm greeted with that as well. So those things mean a whole lot. One, for just that human touch, the human connection, and the connectivity that happens, because the two are one. So when we do come together and embrace as a hug, it means so much more. And Maurice read somewhere in reference to the hug has to be how long?
Like 20 seconds.
Like 20 seconds, So how do you do that and not break away, not think about a whole lot of other things, not move a whole lot, So those are things I think, at least for me, that have helped to make that change. I was reading a post and someone was saying, again, how do you keep a marriage together? And, make sure you kiss before you go to sleep every night. Make sure you don't go to bed angry at one another. And it's not saying that you're settling all arguments, but just being at peace, that, hey, we'll pick this up later, or it's not that deep where I have to go to sleep angry and bitter. So some of those things I think help to keep the marriage going. Because, again, a lot of people want to do the wedding thing, and, the marriage is the real, other
Right.
interesting part, the harder work.
Yeah.
Someone had said on a post recently, he's like, I'm tired of going to weddings. He's like, I think weddings shouldn't happen until after y'all been married for a whole year. Like, go ahead, get married. He said, 'cause I'm buying gifts and y'all not staying together. So go ahead, get married. Let the best man and the matron of honor or the maid of honor be witnesses that you guys can do this. And then let's get married and have a big old party, because then you're worth the gift. I mean, it was just, a funny way of looking at things,
It's not funny. It's brilliant. It's brilliant.
He said, get engaged and then get married, but, have the civic ceremony or whatever just to get married. But then, don't bring all your people in, because why are you celebrating the beginning? We should be celebrating that it's
Longevity.
working. Right, that it's working, So, Maurice and I had talked
That's brilliant.
sometime. He says brilliant. Some time ago about, do we renew our vows? And I was always like, well, I don't want to renew them, but I feel as though we should celebrate our longevity. Celebrate the time that we've been together, because it is an accomplishment. It is a milestone, and I think it should be celebrated. We asked you all on a podcast some time ago, like, should we have a gathering for family and friends? And we celebrate ourselves that way, or should we skip off, somewhere and have a second honeymoon, if you will? So, we thank you for that input, And, we're doing one of those two things.
And you'll see content from that.
Yeah, we'll leave you hanging on where you think that, what we're doing. But
literally,
we're doing lots of planning. That's all I have to say.
Right.
So, again, but we celebrate, this journey that we've been on all the time. And that's one of the things I think I love about this podcast, because it gives us a chance to celebrate us and almost 25 years of marriage. So,
and so I think that is something that people don't consider as well, of just appreciating where you are, right? Because you hear so much about people being simps and accepting whatever, right? And so the reality is that if you love somebody, you love them.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it is, right?
And it's really weird how, relationships change, and what we accept and what we tolerate changes as we age. When you're 10 years old and in grade school, or however old you are when you had your first girlfriend and boyfriend, or person that you called girlfriend or boyfriend, what you tolerated, you know what I mean?
Right.
And then, well, they didn't meet me at the slide after school, so I quit them.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So now you quit, and then you're on to the next one, not even thinking about that person, their feelings, or anything like that. Then you move on, you get a little more serious, and then it's like, if they don't meet you at the slide, I mean, again, you're in high school, but
Right.
After school,
Right.
then it's all, you're ready to hurt everybody in the world,
Mm-hmm.
and then you mature a little bit longer, and you date, and then again, you're on and off because of one little simple thing.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you get married, again, you're back to this, he said, she said, and I can't deal with that.
Right.
But that's what marriage is not about. That you have to kind of say, okay, well, he said, she said, and okay, well, why? What did I do? What did they do? How do we get through this type of a thing? And not, I'm ready to end things because of a disagreement. I'm ready to end things because I didn't get my way, or I don't like the way that things are. We're going to change as people, We don't
take that in consideration, though. Maurice
and I have truly changed since we met in the 90s. Yes, and I said the 90s. 1990s. Late 1990s, though.
We met mid-1990s.
Okay.
We dated mid to late 1990s. Because it took, almost 2 years?
Okay.
Yeah, until we started dating. So, yeah. So it wasn't like, yo, shorty, what's up? Let me holler at you for a second. It wasn't.
I mean, we weren't seeing each other that often, so we were kind of in passing. So
Right.
once or twice a year we would see each other, but, until.
Yo, shorty.
Yeah, he said that. And I was like.
Let me give you a token.
Somebody's grandpa.
Because it's the 90s.
That's how we all sound in the 90s?
Yeah.
I didn't. So, yeah, I think you just have to kind of understand one another, understand that things will change.
Right.
Your hair's not always going to be black or dark brown.
It's not that right now.
Things are not always going to be sitting and slim and whatever. Things change.
Not at all.
Life changes.
Most definitely.
And we need to be proud about that as well.
I am literally 3 Maurices right now.
Not quite. Maybe 2. Not 3.
I mean, yeah, I'm not 3.
Okay.
I'm not even 2. I mean, not from the time that we met to even the weight that I am now. I'm only like 1.5.
Okay, you're 1.5 Maurices.
Yeah. Well, not even a half. Not even a full half.
Okay.
But, yeah. Because if I was 200, I'm not even...
You wasn't no 200.
When we first met, I was.
Okay.
By the time we dated, I was 225.
Mm-mm.
I wasn't 180. The pictures that we see, I was 180.
Oh, okay.
But, yeah,
you were Slim Shady.
Yeah, but no. Mm-mm. By the time you and I got together, I was 200.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, you fed me. Then before we got married, I was about 225.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm about
something else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I ain't 300 though. I'll tell you all that right now. I have not. That's one number I haven't touched.
Been close.
Yeah. We a bit right up on that. But yeah, I mean, but again, some of that, and understand what that is, right? And so before we end off this show, Kafi had made mention about the whole touching thing. And some of that was because it started off as a video. I saw a video that talked about holding and touching the person that you are dating or married to for 20 plus seconds. And touching them in not such a sexual space, but more of a more intimate, I love you space.
Just care.
And just hold them for a moment and synchronize your breathing and all of that type of stuff. So what happens is that now, because you're synchronized and you're connecting and bonding, then now when that person goes to work, they can have a better experience. When that person leaves out the house, it's a better experience. And then, now that you get home, is a better experience, right? And so even in that, and then being intentional on, hey, how was your day? But then every now and then, that has been the bond or the glue that's kept us together and allowed us to say, hey, you know what? I'm here, right? And because there's some times where you got to revisit the conversation on where are we as a couple? And because of those little moments like that, if we had to ask that question, where are we as a couple, is nowhere near what it would have been 18 months ago.
Mm-hmm. And
I'll just use that. I don't even have to say, oh yeah, we've grown so much 5 years ago. 18 months ago is a big difference. So think about that for a moment of just some of these little things, how they can really change what you're going through and what you're doing. And I said on one of my other podcasts, you can actually see and hear in our show how much we've grown because of the content and the topics that we're talking about, we're conquering or whatever it is. Like y'all can hear the maturation in that. And I think those are things that are key in this growth, in this situation of, hey, let me get center. Let me understand why I married this individual, what this individual brought to my life. And sometimes, as Kafi stated, those unspoken words
mm-hmm.
are way more powerful. So that's all I got to say. I ain't got nothing else to say. What's funny is that I said that and she smiled. That means she's like, this little, he ain't got nothing else to say. I'm pretty sure he got something else to say. If y'all could see her face. So that's something else that y'all, again, there's other things in the works. So all these things, expressions and all this type of stuff, maybe you'll be able to see that very shortly. So, but I thank y'all very much for listening today. And hug your spouse, hug your mate, and ask them where are you today? And be open and honest about it. Be open-minded about the response that you get back. And just have a conversation about it. And just set aside some time just to say yes to where you are. Start off with every week. And then eventually get to every day. We'll talk to you a little bit later.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the No Fruit Podcast, where we bring you fruitful conversations, ripened wisdom, and love that's deeply rooted. We hope today's discussion left you feeling uplifted, encouraged, and ready to take on life's journey with purpose. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with someone who could use a little inspiration in their day. You can catch up on past episodes, send us your thoughts, or learn more about us on social media. Until next time, stay rooted in love, and remember, every seed you plant today shapes the fruit of tomorrow. Take care, and we'll see you next time.